The Batman in Snyder's DC universe is out of his league.
I agree.
Hollywood continues to lean heavily on franchise properties. This trend, let's call it a crutch, defeats itself in the production of, say, movies and television based on comic books. The repackaging and redistribution of these properties strands its audience with confusing, inconsistent, and even conflicting depictions of beloved characters and worlds. Despite properties with competing ownership, Marvel, with the establishment of its cinematic universe, has been able to wrangle at least some semblance of unity and continuity, as it continues to produce projects across multiple platforms for dozens of properties over the span of decades.
Stop listening after you said we need a plan.
The other comic book juggernaut, DC, has come at this concept like it's building track housing for a subdivision. They do it cheap, fast, and loose. As a result, the state of the DCEU feels like the third act of a Christopher Nolan movie. Don't worry, because we'll get back to him in a minute. It suffers, despite a decades-long head start in the industry, with productions past featuring not only the first big screen adaptation of Superman and 3 sequels, but also the veritable roster of the high-profile Batman films. Maybe the explanation for these consistent mulligans is in the studio's bottom line, and maybe also this repeated regeneration of bankable characters dilutes the opportunity to ever present those characters so they really resonate. Or rather, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Something is definitely bleeding.
The fact is, Warner Brothers has spread DC properties very thin across a handful of currently airing cable shows, as well as 4 tentpole films, maintaining these as 2 separate universes inhabited by separate incarnations of the same characters, and not the minor ones. There are 2 existing Supermans and 2 existing Flashes, and they all exist in 2 separate worlds with separate rules. Which brings me back to Christopher Nolan and his decidedly insular The Dark Knight trilogy, which, for all its merits as the baseline for comic book adaptations, and for Nolan's acumen and ingenuity in blockbuster filmmaking, dealt a blow to Batman's future as a worthy superhero, calling into question the validity of his very presence in the DC cinematic universe. The conceit of Nolan's trilogy always seemed to be a representation of Batman existing in a tangible world, not unlike our own. Adherent to fundamental rules and battled by recognizable forces, featuring a hero in possession of justifiable, albeit impressive, capabilities. Furthermore, he exists in this world governed by a set of rules his skill set is suited to. And the challenges facing him in each successive installment present odds exponentially rising only slightly above his capacity to overcome them. In this way, Nolan's Batman is more like James Bond, where the enjoyment comes from witnessing his ingenuity and his ability to overcome said challenge by assembling the traits and tools and allies at his disposal, everything calibrated within reasonable degrees of one another. But Nolan's Batman took little influence from DC Comics, with the exception of a pithy reference or two, and established defined borders of a very pragmatic world. Zack Snyder, on the other hand, set out to create the expansive vision of a DC Comics movie universe. And though the DCEU seems like a matter of course, given Marvel Studios' success, it's done little successfully, save for this one unintended effect: engaging the character of Batman against enemies he could never best, pitting him against challenges he can never surmount, and pairing him with allies who don't require what he has to offer. Some of the Nolan trilogy's most absurd plot points, a band of ninjas sacking Gotham, a domestic terrorist in clown makeup, or the interminable prison at the bottom of a pit on the other side of the world, still plays by the world's rules, and in doing so reflects the garish possibilities of real things in our own world. The besieged Gotham of Dark Knight Rises can still evoke images of real war-torn cities like Aleppo or Kabul, although the few opening scenes of Snyder's Gotham City in Dawn of Justice establish this new depiction of Batman with aplomb. As Justice League rumbles along, the mishmash of disparate characters and their respective disparate worlds coexist with too much polarity for a character of Batman's mortalness.
You got no powers, no offense.
To reasonably make the leaps. From the rain-soaked noir of Gotham, to the mythic scope of Themyscira, to the dazzling reveal of Atlantis and Metropolis and Central City, and whatever boiling, blistering brimstone lair the villain Steppenwolf dwells. All of that, and Batman still travels by Batmobile? To another point, In all of the Dark Knight trilogy's rogues gallery, yes, the antagonists exist at different points on a calculable scale, but at least they exist on the same scale. In Justice League, from the onset, the unpredictable and imbalanced nature of this world is fully illustrated when in the same scene, Batman squares off against two discordant adversaries. One, a common burglar with a sack full of loot, and then two, a fear-sniffling mosquito man from another dimension. Now, the argument could be made that the first adversary is indicative of the world Batman knows, and the second suggests the impending threat of an encroaching other world, one to test Batman's limits. Well, in Nolan's trilogy, the League of Shadows suggests another world in Batman Begins, beyond the everyday blight of Gotham City, but also had already been narratively established as a world that helped create that hero, and one which he would be sufficiently tested to contend. Furthermore, this secret world is nothing compared to the unfathomable insanity the Batman of Snyder's Justice League will have to stand to face in future installments of this franchise. The fact is, Snyder's world is a world filled with actual gods and actual monsters, while his Batman is still fundamentally no more or differently equipped than Nolan's is. Although Batman might have seemed reasonably prepared to go toe-to-toe against the unearthly heft of Superman in Dawn of Justice, even that movie offers up a moment of recognition for both the character and the audience during that final showdown of a Batman that is in way over his head, bearing down in his Batplane on the mutilated extraterrestrial monster Doomsday, breathing fire out of his face. Batman mutters to himself and to us what we're all thinking.
Oh, shit.
In Justice League, both the character and the film wring this self-awareness out for all it's worth, galvanizing Batman's inferiority by placing him side by side with a demigoddess, a cyborg, an heir to Atlantis, and the fastest man alive. While Aquaman relishes his few well-timed whiskey-tinged frat house-style potshots,
It's on him.
it's first Alfred relaying to Batman that
I don't recognize this world.
and then actually Batman himself that sets this tone. When asked by the Flash what his superpowers are, Batman responds dryly,
I'm rich.
But see, the problem with this is we all know that money is not what makes Batman special. Even Batman knows that his money is not his superpower. But this single line, this joke, in practice but not in theory, amounts to what is more of a narrative shrug. The movie admittingly giving up on this character.
I'm rich.
Acknowledging fully that nobody knows what the fuck he's doing here. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Batman is set up to be in these Justice Leagues? I know it works in the comics, but does it work in the movies as they are? What would you like to see the movies take on Batman be? Make sure to subscribe to Gamma Ray. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. We'll see you next time.
Just like a bat. I dig it.